All right, we are now going to jump on to the second demo. I admit I was a little like, do I want to put this demo in here? Do I want to do it next week? You know what? I'm going to do it now. So this demo, handout number 8, I'm going to go ahead and open up the associated file with that. It has the, again, incredibly clever name of Layer Management Demo Start. Right? Pretty good. So this is really just us talking about how do we deal with our layers. So we're going to rename all these things first, right? If I look at my layers, they have some stupid names, right? What is that, right? Underscore MG9421 layer 2 and client outlines crop. Garbage. So let's fix that. I don't know, what do I call these things in the demo? I'm gonna call, you know what, I'm gonna call it mountains. I guess I give it the name of the website that I stole it from. Don't steal images, it's not nice. And I'm gonna call this road, and I'm gonna call this car, right? That seems smart. And now if I look at that, I'm gonna put the car. Oh man, I can't even spell mountains. That's karma for stealing images. Okay, wow, that looks better already. All right, so I've got the mountains, right? Then I have the road. On top of the road, got the car. Awesome. So those are all good. They have some normal names. See me glancing over here because I'm also looking at the handout. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to put it on top. And I'm going to call it sun, and you're never going to guess what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get myself some yellow paint. And I'm gonna draw a circle, and it's gonna be the sun. So got the whoops. There we go. Boom. Oh, I drew it in blue. That's not good. Look at all these things. This is just terrible. All right, I'm gonna go back into history. Wow. All right, there we go. Back here. Get that ellipse. Get that color. Jeez, what are you doing here? Not that. Whew, that was close. All right. Boom. Managed to draw sun. Great. Rename it sun because I went back in history. That was really difficult. Okay, so I've got my layers here. I'm going to introduce something new, which is layer groups. Layer groups are basically little folders that we use to organize our layers. So to do that, I'm just going to go down here to the layers palette, and in the bottom portion down here, right next to the little plus in a box that gives us a new layer, we have a folder icon. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make a new layer called artificial. If I can spell, which I don't know if I can or not, but I'm just going to assume that that's the right spelling. And I'm going to make another layer that is called, another group that's called natural. Now, you know what? I'm going to try something because I don't actually know. So road, car, the sun is natural. I'm going to drag that down next to the mountains. And because there's nothing over the top of it, me dropping it in the order, right? Nothing is going to obscure it. There's nothing in those other layers that is in the same place. So there is no difference in appearance as there would be when I drag the other layers around. If I just drag the sun, right? If I put the sun on the top, looks the same. Sun down there also looks the same. So what I just did is I selected both the sun and the mountains, and I want to make a new folder called natural and put those two things in it. Now I could do what I did with the artificial one, which is I go down here, make a layer group, boop, layer group appears, there's car, there's road, take them, drag them in there, awesome, right? Collapse that folder, twiddle it closed, and now that's an organizational unit. I can hide or show the whole thing. With sun and mountains, I'm going to select them first, right? So now I have both of those layers active. I did that by holding down Shift while I clicked on them. Now I'm going to go down there and create a new group. And because I had those actively selected, it made a new group and put them inside. This is just like if you're working on the Mac and you go in and select some files, make a new folder, it'll like throw them in there. Same idea. So this is a slightly faster way to do it. I'm going to call that group natural since it has the sun and the mountains in it. All of that looks good. Next up, I would like to go day for night, right? That's one of those like cinema terms that I bandy about to try and feel cool. To do this, I'm going to make the mountain black and white, and I'm going to turn the sun into a white disk instead of it being yellow. And I want to keep the van and the road, I want to keep those in color, right? It doesn't matter as much for the road, right? Mostly gray. But I want to keep that yellow stripe and things like the orange in the van, right? Just keeping those guys in color. Making something black and white is pretty straightforward, right? There is a like black and white command shift option thing, but that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to use adjustment layers. Adjustment layers are the best. Adjustment layers show up in our layer stack, but instead of having pixels in them, an adjustment layer is going to have adjustments. Good job, you got it. Right, so if I'm going to make things brighter or darker or black and white or whatever, right, that's going to be in there as a layer. And the great thing about that is it is a non-destructive edit, meaning that I can go back and turn it off. I can go back and change the settings. I can like decide that it was a terrible idea and delete it, right? And the underlying image is unchanged. So I can make it black and white. Tomorrow, wake up, I'm like, oh, black and white was the wrong move, right? I don't have to start the whole process over again. Go in there, turn off that layer, throw away that layer, boom, back in color. It's amazing. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come down here to the sun layer, right? I want the sun and the mountains to be black and white. And to get that adjustment layer, there's two ways to do it. I can come down here in the layers palette to the black and white cookie and click on it. And then this is a whole list of adjustment layers. Next week, we're going to go through each and every one of them and see what they do. But for now, I'm just going to go to black and white. You can also hit Command Z to undo. You can also go up to Layer and say New Adjustment Layer, right? Same thing, same set of things. It's just a little bit easier, faster, in my opinion, to go down here to the black and white cookie and click on it and hit black and white. Perfect. So that has made everything below it black and white, right? Remember, it's a layer stack. So wherever that adjustment layer is, everything underneath it in the layer stack is going to be impacted by it. You can think of this as sort of having a drawing, right? And then having a gel, right? So I've got an orange gel and I've got my, I don't know, drawing of Napoleon, right? So if I put the gel on top of it, right, all of a sudden it's an orange gel, all of a sudden Napoleon looks orange. I put the gel below it and Napoleon looks normal, right? Because the gel is not on top anymore, right? So that thing, that adjustment layer goes on top and we sort of see through it. And so whatever its adjustments are applied to everything below it. Things above it, unaffected. So we can see that if we take this black and white layer and I drag it down below the sun layer, boop, right? Now the sun's in color. If I take it and drag it up, right, into the other group, if I drag it just above road and then car is still on top of it, then the car is in color, road is in black and white. If I drag it all the way up to the top, right, then everything is black and white. If I drag it all the way to the bottom, nothing is black and white, but we are going to go ahead and drag it up just above the sun. So pretty straightforward layer, has some controls. We're not really going to deal with those at the moment. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to rename this layer. Always rename your layer. So I want to rename this with what part of the image it's affecting and what it's doing to it. So it is black and white. That's what it's doing to it. Okay, that's pretty good. But I want to say overall black and white. So OA for overall, black and white. Now I know what that layer is doing. That's awesome. Next up, I want to make the moon white. That's right, white, right? Deal with it. The moon is, hit your eye like a giant pizza. The moon is yellow, right? If we just desaturate that, or the sun, whatever, is yellow. If we just desaturate it, it has a tone, so it looks gray. That's not what we want. We want it to look white. Yes, we could go back and just draw a white circle, but it's not what I want to do. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and go here to the sun, and I'm going to go back down to that black and white cookie. And the adjustment layer that I want to make this time is a hue saturation layer. Now you'll see when I do that, pops up right there. And I'm going to go over here into properties, and I'm going to go down to lightness, and I'm going to drag it all the way up. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Brad, that looks ghastly, and you just made everything below that layer super bright and terrible. And you know what? You're right. Instead, what I want to do is, now that I've accomplished that, making everything super bright, I want that just to affect the sun layer. Now, we're going to get more into this next week, but I want to introduce the topic now because I think it's important to have it floating around in our heads. Here we have my adjustment layer, the hue saturation, and there I have the sun. I want the sun only to impact, or excuse me, I want the hue saturation only to impact that sun layer. I want it to only affect a singular layer. So we can totally do that, not a big deal. The way that we do it is that if I hold down the Option key, right, you'll notice as I mouse between those two layers, my cursor changes. It changes into this weird bent arrow with a box. What that's going to do is that it is going to do what I think of as indenting, because it literally does indent it, or what Photoshop calls clipping, right? Meaning that it is going to limit the impact of that adjustment layer to whatever it's clipped to, right? So whatever that adjustment layer is, in this case a hue saturation layer that makes everything very bright, is only going to impact that one layer that it's clipped to. If I clipped it to a group, it would affect everything in that group. Is there a way to clip things to two layers that are not in a group? No, I don't think so. So there we go. So there it is clipped. Now, if you don't want to do the weird mouse thing, right, I did that, I can undo it, right? So I hold down Option, it undoes it. Hold down Option again, right? I just go between those two layers, applies it, right? You'll notice when I have it applied, I get the little like line through it when I'm about to undo it by holding down Option and clicking. If you are, again, a more, I want to go up here into the menu thing kind of person, that is also an option. I can go up here to Layer, and with the adjustment layer that I want to use selected, I can come down here to create clipping mask, which is boop right there, and it will clip it to whatever is directly below it. For me, the option click thing works a little bit better, makes a little bit more intuitive sense, but hey, if the layer menu clipping mask works for you, absolutely do it. You can also go then and release the clipping mask, and that would undo it. So again, layer menu, I'm on the adjustment layer, create clipping mask, clips it to whatever is directly below it. Awesome. So now we've got black and white background, we've got white sun that is now the moon. I think we are totally winning. Yeah, I thought there was going to be something else, but that's it. That's it. You win. You win. Good job. Oh, no, we need to rename our layer. Oh my God, I almost failed the class. All right, so it's just, right, what do we want? We want what it's affecting, what it's doing, right? It's just affecting the sun, and what it's doing is it is making the brightness really high. So I'm going to say boost, so sun, boost, brightness. Oh my gosh, I can't spell. To white. Cool. All right, now, look at those layer names. Now, you're done. Good job.